Back on Radio Row for Super Bowl 52. Pat Mayo now joined by Road Warrior Animal.
How you doing, man?
I'm good. You got a new podcast? What a Rush Pod.
Yeah, my old What a Rush podcast. It's crazy great. It's grown by like thousands of listeners per week. And it's a fun thing. You know, it's kind of a different handle for me because now I'm one-on-one with the fan.
Well, how do you like doing the podcast?
I love doing it, man. You know, one thing I learned quick in the sports entertainment world is that your fans are your bread and butter, right? So now it's time to give back to your fan and to have a good time doing it. And I love it, man. I love rehashing some of the most prestigious events in our history, the SummerSlams, the Wembley Stadiums with 90,000 people, and the Budokans in Japan, a lot of the great places I got to go wrestle, Kuwait, and go to Camp Doha and be able to train over there and to be able to discuss all this stuff with guys that were in the service and say, hey, I remember meeting you over in Kuwait City. You came in the workout facility in Camp Doha in Kuwait, and you gain great access to things that a lot of normal people, I say, can't get access to, man. You really appreciate it, and it's a fun thing. And I get to interview guys, my buddies. Smash Demolition. I just had an interview with him last week, and Ken Anderson, Mr. Kennedy, that was with WWE, and The Godfather, and stuff like that. So we got some good ones planned in the future with Ric Flair and everything else. So it's a fun deal.
Did you watch the Ric Flair 30 for 30?
I was on it.
I know you were in it, but did you actually sit down and if you're in it, I feel like it'd be hard to sit down and watch it. Or were you like, hey, this is great?
I actually caught it, but to be quite honest with you, I pretty much lived it. I hate to say that, man. I was with Flair when Flair would show up at the bar and say, bartender, give me 30 kamikazes, 15 for my buddy Animal here and 15 for me. And I'm going, Flair, those are shooters. They can't sit there long. And you'd have to go bam, 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 one after another. And then, half hour later, 45 minutes, you're going, who hit me in the head with the sledgehammer? Because they're kicking in, right? But, yeah, man, that was Flair, man. That was a lifestyle. And it was crazy. It's hard to believe when you had both companies one time and, you had the NWA and WWE on the top of the game. We would go to Philly or whatever and go to the Civic Center in Philly. We're selling out 20,000 people. WWE would be on the Spectrum. They're selling out. And then all the guys would get together after the show. Come on, forget about it. That was like the biggest class reunion you could ever have.
So there was crossover if you guys ever did meet. It wasn't like, hey, let's stay away.
And you know what? The great thing about the wrestling business is kind of like the NFL in a way. It's a giant fraternity. Once you get in that fraternity, man, you respect everybody because your bread and butter is with the guy you are wrestling in the ring with. You're only as good as that guy. If that guy has a bad night or he kind of stinks, per se, or we say in wrestling, he sucks, you're going to be horrible as well, so that's just the way it is.
So when you're working on the road, you're always, you're powerlifting, according to this is ridiculous that you benched 610 pounds.
Yeah, I was kidding with one of the guys that does the promotions with me. It's actually 640, but I'm not going to get into
that.
Oh,
so okay.
Anything over 600, you're achieving something. But yeah, man, listen, I got a buddy of mine, Scott Norton, that was with the NWO, with WCW.
Big in Japan.
Yeah, bro. He was a 765 bencher. 765.
But if you're working 300 days a year and traveling around, when do you get time to work out?
That was the amazing thing about it, man. I didn't bench over 600 pounds until about 8 years into wrestling. And I figured it out the other day. Smash and I sat down and figured it out. Over 6,000 matches I've had in my career, right? Over a 22-year career. So if you could picture that and then figure out how are you going to work. I don't know how I did it and stayed healthy. Thank God, I'll tell you this right now, that I was the thrower and not the guy getting thrown, because I've had 14 surgeries. I've had I've had both shoulders done twice, elbows done, knee done, broke my back. Rick Steiner broke my neck in Japan. I've not gotten it ever fixed yet because I don't feel like moving my esophagus over and fixing my neck. But, we've gone through some injuries, but for the most part, I'm walking normal. I feel normal. I can move around, so I'm good.
So when you finish up and you're always trying to be in shape, be as big as possible, is there like a weird downtime after you basically retire and go into like regular life of like trying to keep weight off, that kind of thing?
Well, I don't know if there is a regular life, especially when you're in my gimmick, because I have to. I'm down in weight now. I'm only about 270, but I say only 270, right? Like you're a small guy, but when I was 310, 315, you're talking 50 pounds of weight off of me, and 50 pounds of muscle. I had to burn 50 pounds of muscle to get it off. I mean, I did nothing but aerobics like for 3 years to get that weight off of me. And your training mentality stops. I've gone into giant setting and super setting, which I really wish I would have learned years ago. I probably wouldn't have had 14 surgeries on it, because a lot of my liftings, I used to do stupid behind the neck presses with 405 pounds, and because I wanted to be able to press land big guys over my head. Guys like Jerry Blackwell, who I almost pressed over my head, was 450 pounds. So it's that aspect. I had to be that, but I don't need to be that anymore. And there isn't kind of a downtime, because I'm always busy on the road. I do Comic-Cons all over the world. People always contact me to do personal appearances, Comic-Cons. I put on the face paint still. I bring my spiked shoulder pads. People put them on for pictures. It's great for the fans, because they get to be a part of me and put on the stuff. So, man, it's a great experience. So I really don't ever have any downtime when I'm doing it.
So when you did the regionals coming up before basically WWF and NWA, how, I see it now, and WWE is just basically a monopoly on everything. Mm-hmm. So in the regional scenes just seems so weirdly, they're just independent spots now.
Yeah.
And you might get 20 people out at some, you might get 200, you might get 1,000 if you're lucky. How has that really shaped wrestling now? Because it seemed like before you could go to Georgia and work in Georgia, or you could go to Texas and work in Texas, build your character, do all that. Can you even do that as a young guy anymore?
No, and I think that's why you see that the ratings, not the ratings per se, well, yeah, the ratings, because we used to go into 20 million homes. Now we go into 2 million. And I think that is because there is one company. That's not a dig on the WWE, but that's just the way the business has evolved. No different than the AFC and NFC. You know what I mean?
You need the competition.
You need the competition, and competition creates cash. That was always our slogan. Competition creates cash. But the good thing, what people really need to realize, and the local fans listening, they need to go support their indie company. You will find some phenomenal stars and wrestlers in the indie scene. I go around to a lot of the indie scenes, and I see them all the time. And you're right. You'll get sometimes 250 people, and because most of the ones that I go to are, 500 is pretty much the minimum that will show up. But I get to go there. I get to talk to some good fans. I give seminars to their local school, and I do stuff like that. And so they are growing and fast. And there's other companies like New Japan coming in. New Japan is tearing it up down the West Coast. Now they're on Fight TV. They're getting on a regular station now. They're going to be a regular program for wrestling. You got Ring of Honor's got their own station. You got the Lucha Libre station they're on now too. Man, the Mexican wrestling is on. So there's a lot of stations that are growing, and you're going to see someday. There's a company in Las Vegas called Revolution that's getting ready to start up, which is going to start signing some guys to some contracts once they get their TV deal worked out. So it's pretty crazy, and you're going to see it. You need to have 2 or 3 companies. That was one of the great achievements for Hawk and I, is when we finally won the WWF titles, right? That was like we won the last of the big 4. We were AWA, NWA, Georgia Championship. Now we won WWF, and we did it in a great place like Madison Square Garden. Are you kidding me? Those people came unglued, and they were the rowdiest crowd we wrestled in front of, and it was freaking awesome, man. It was almost like the closest thing to winning a Super Bowl for me. I kid around a lot of times. I said, man, one thing, because of the fans, man, without great fans, you're not a great athlete, no matter who you are or what sport you're in. But a lot of people, call us the Hulk Hogan of tag teams, or the Tom Brady of wrestling, which is cool for me. What? You put me in the same sentence as Tom Brady? Are you kidding me? I love it, man. It's great.
All right. You can get at Joe on Twitter at RWAnimal, and follow the podcast at What a Rush Pod. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you very much, man. Thanks for having me here on DK Live, man.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
What a rush.